thank you all for your support. My name is Sami Awadallah. I am a Palestinian. And I am a doctor too. I am a pediatric cardiologist. What pediatric cardiologists do, basically treat kids born with heart defect. In other words, I would say I just try to mend broken hearts. How many children in Gaza with the broken hearts? How many children in Gaza with the broken limbs?
Too many.
Broken homes, broken families? How many children died and are going to die? I'm not here to talk politics, but what is going in Gaza is ethnic cleansing, is forceful displacement. And what we see is an army that victorious over premature babies, army that is victorious over healthcare providers, victorious over the ruins of homes, hospitals, churches, mosques. That is what's going on in Gaza right now. But I'm here not to talk about what's going, because my eloquent speakers before talked enough. I am here to tell you my personal story as a Palestinian, lived under the occupation. I'm telling you my story firsthand. I don't have anything to write, I haven't written anything, but I'll try to be spontaneous. In 1948, 7 years before I was born, my father, along with my mom and firstborn sister, had to leave their village in Palestine, which was between the Mediterranean Sea and Jerusalem. And they made the trip to Bethlehem. That was when Israel had its war of independence in the forceful displacement of the Palestinian, or fearful displacement like my father. He made the journey to Bethlehem, where now so many refugee camps exist around Bethlehem, as my sister from Red Nation mentioned about her visit. My father thought he would go back, he would return. Then the United Nations showed up. He spent so many days under the olive trees there, waiting to return. And what happened, the United Nations came with tents, and the tents became large refugee camps. 3 refugee camps in the Bethlehem area. Camp Dehesha, Camp Gaza, and Camp Aida. My father always told me and dreamt of going back to his home, but he never did return, and he died dreaming of returning back. He always told me, you know, Dad, before this happened, we're just Palestinian living in that land, Jews, Muslims, Christians, neighbors. But since the creation of Israeli state on Palestine, peace never came to that land. And he used to joke to me. He said, Sami, you know, Jesus was Palestinian by birth. He was born in Nazareth, and he was Palestinian by birth even before all these religions happened to exist there. We just followed the religion of our parents, but we were Palestinian by birth. And that land called Palestine, since the revelation of the Bibles and before, it's historical Palestine. And yes, it's from the sea to the river. I was 12 years old, 1967, the Second War, when the West Bank, what remained of historical Palestine, occupied. I was 12 years old. And my father at that time did not want to make the other journey of leaving his home there. And he sent my two brothers and my sister to Jordan because there was no schools and the life under the occupation was difficult. And they never allowed to come back. They went for education, they tried to come back to Palestine, the West Bank, and they never allowed by Israel. I was 12 years old. And yes, I saw the occupation. I saw the occupation firsthand. I saw soldiers in the street of Bethlehem, Beit Jala, where my home is. I saw military checkpoints being erected. I saw Palestinians being arrested. I saw Palestinians being harassed by the new occupation that has been there now for 67 years, and my father's displacement for 75 years. And yes, unlike my brother Mustafa, who tried for 20 years to go back to visit my father and my mother before they died, and never given a permit by Israel. In 2016, when my father was dying, he asked to leave from Amman, Jordan, to go to see my dying father, and they did not give him a permit. Then when my father died, they gave him a permit for 1 day to go and see his dead father in the home where he was born. And he refused to take it. He said, "This is not but a humiliation, and I'm not gonna go for 1 day after 20 years to see my dead father and see my home." And my brother Mustafa, the oldest, he was the most loving, peaceful person you would ever meet. He died last year. Yes, I was 12 years old. And yes, I joined the student resistance movement in the West Bank against the occupation. And yes, I was arrested in 1973, and I was in prison, put in prison that time when I was still in high school for resisting the occupation. I remember when they came and arrested me from my grandmother's house in Beit Safafa near Jerusalem. The Israeli soldier came in 2 o'clock in the morning, I remember that vividly, stormed the house of my grandmother's, arrested me, cuffed me, blindfolded me, and why my grandmother was huddling in the corner, crying and shivering. They threw me in military jeep, and I heard the voice of my father in the jeep. They took him from his house to show me where I was staying, so they can arrested me. They throw him away, and they took me away. That was in 1973. Then I went to study medicine in Jordan, which is across the river from the occupied West Bank, the river that divides the East Bank of Jordan and the West Bank under the occupation. And I used to go back every year to see my family, my parents, and my home. In 1976, I was arrested again. And this time, my accusation was for aiding the resistance in Jordan. And I told them I was there to study medicine. I never did that. And they tried hard to take a confess from me so they can put me to jail forever. I was there in the cell for 2 weeks and tortured. And I'm not gonna tell you about the method of tortures. That's might need another rally. But I didn't confess. They released me after 2 months. And I remember as I walking the hallway, leaving the prison in Hebron, the Israeli interrogator came after me and said, I'm sure you're never gonna come back, because if you come back, you will not see the light. I told him quietly, I will come back because this is my home, this is my family, this is mine. And here, I came to the US for medicine. I've been here since 1982, I still go back. And the life for the Palestinian under the occupation is never better. Every year I go, it's getting worse. More military checkpoints, more settlements, more barbed wires, and more walls. The wall that's separating the Palestinian land, cutting through like a snake, like a dagger, cutting through Palestinian fields, olive orchards, lands. And that's still what the apartheid picture is. If you go to any Palestinian city, you have to go through checkpoints. You have to leave through checkpoints. It's like each Palestinian city, like small Gaza. Gaza has been under siege for 17 years, and imagine, military siege for that long. In 2019, when we went for visit to Palestine, I took my 2 children, Nawal and Jamal, and they stayed behind me. And then they decided to go and see the village of their grandfather, where we lived in Ras Abu Because they have American passport, they were able to go through the checkpoint and go to the village. What was in the village? Ruined house, almond trees, cactus. They sent me video of the land, and they said, I think these ruined homes must be where your grandfather lived. In that land, overlooking the hill, was Israeli Jewish settlement. And this summer, I went with my daughter Layla, who goes often to Palestine to teach dance for the Palestinian children, Bethlehem. And that's through the grant that she offered from University of Minnesota. She goes there, teaches, and had to stay behind me when I came back. And in the first week of October, she was part of the international platform for art in Bethlehem. And that's when war erupted, and she had stayed behind me. And I remember, talking to her during the war, and it was very, very hard time for her to leave her family to there, her relatives, her uncle, and return home here to the US. This is really our story in short, or my story as a person who lived under the occupation. And you can tell now, you can make your own judgment what happened to us and why we should really call for the freedom of the Palestinian people and Palestine. We should fight for this because we are occupied people. We need the world to know that there will be no security for Israel without a justice for the Palestinian. Long live Palestine! Long live Palestine! Free Palestine! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Free Palestine! Thank you. If you didn't mind, I'm gonna read you a poem. I also write poetry, if that's okay. I have time? Yeah. You know, I write poetry in Arabic, but this was translated, hopefully the translation would be good. Jaffa in my dreams. Jaffa is this coastal city in Palestine where my father used to guard the orchard of the orange there. And that was his job before he... Yesterday and tomorrow. Was I, before my birth, alive in a past world? What I'm trying to this poem to tell, to be born before my parents were there. Before I was there seeing my parents before I was born. Then I was there after I died when my granddaughter was there. Was I, before my birth, alive in a past world? And will I return from my death to another world, liberated from the memory and forgotten? Was I really in a deep dream when I saw my mother mounting a horse and my just wedded father a strong young youth? They passed me sitting on the dew. Who is this strange boy? Asked my mother. My father did not reply. He would return later to squeeze oranges for strangers to drink with tears in his eyes. I was in the port. Then I woke up from my dream crying between the almonds and the cactus. Was I really in a deep dream when I saw a woman and a child come down from the Galilee to watch the sun bathe in the face of a Jaffa sea? Do you live here? I asked. I am the descendant of a great-great-grandfather who used to squeeze oranges. He died one summer long ago and reincarnated in me. Come, stranger, sit near me and listen to the tale of the old sea. Her child's fingers caressed my frozen soul, bringing back warmth to my eternity, and I return from my dream to my death, overflowing with tranquility. Was I before my birth alive, and will I return from my death, liberated from the memory and forgotten? Thank you.